They call it loneliness. I call it the forge, because when the noise dies and the faces fade, that's when truth finally dares to speak. Not through the mouths of men, not through the echo of applause, but through the slow, patient hum of your own breathing in the dark. There was a night when everyone left. No goodbyes, no closure, just the sound of doors closing and rain whispering against the glass, like the world itself was exhaling, relieved to be rid of me. At first I thought I'd been abandoned, but as the silence stretched, as the minutes bled into hours, something inside me shifted. It wasn't grief anymore, it was ignition. That's the thing no one tells you. When the world stops calling your name, that's not exile, that's selection. You've been chosen by silence. You see, people chase noise because they're terrified of meeting themselves. They fill every second with voices, distractions, validation, because they know what lives beneath it, the truth. And truth is not gentle. It doesn't stroke your ego or hold your hand. It burns. In solitude, there is no audience, no one to impress, no one to beg for understanding. Just you and the reflection of what you've become. Every king was once a ghost, unseen, unheard, uncelebrated. He walked among the living, but they never looked twice. They mocked his silence. They mistook his stillness for weakness. But they never realized the crown is not forged in light. It's hammered in darkness. There's a certain sound the world makes when it forgets your name. A low hum, a chill, the absence of footsteps where once there was chaos. It feels like death at first, but it's not. It's rebirth, because the man you were, the one who needed them, dies quietly in that silence. And the one who rises in his place does not need to be seen to know his worth. The world thinks solitude breaks you, but solitude doesn't break. It remakes. It strips away the illusions you built for comfort, the masks you wore for acceptance, and the softness you carried for survival. It melts all that down until only truth remains. And truth is sharp. Truth is armor. Truth is the beginning of dominion. I remember sitting in an empty room, the last candle flickering beside rusted armor. The air was heavy with rain. The walls breathed with echoes of old laughter, now ghosts themselves. And in that stillness I realized, this is sacred. The world had taken everything that wasn't real and left me with everything that was. Solitude was not a punishment, it was the anvil, and I was the sword being forged upon it. Every drop of sweat, every tear, every breath in that darkness was the hammer's strike. Every moment of pain was the shaping of steel. When you lose everyone, you gain everything that can't be taken. Your focus, your silence, your will. Understand this, the throne is not built by the hands of the loved. It's built by the hands of the forgotten. Every scar carved in solitude becomes a line in the scripture of kings. Every quiet night becomes a battlefield where you wrestle your own ghosts. And if you stay long enough in that dark, if you endure the echoes, the doubt, the crushing silence, something happens. The shadows begin to kneel. The pain begins to listen, and you begin to hear a voice deeper than your own. Not human, not loud, but eternal. It whispers, "Now you understand." Because the man who has mastered solitude can never be controlled by presence. He's not desperate for company because he already walks with the company of his ghosts. He's not afraid of being forgotten because he has already remembered who he is. So when I say solitude built my throne, I don't mean comfort. I mean crucifixion. I mean burning away every false version of myself until only the one destined to rise remained. They call it loneliness, but I know better. It's the sound of the world stepping aside so the king can walk through. I was never alone. I was being sculpted by silence. Betrayal never starts with enemies. It starts with the ones who swore they'd stand beside you until the fire went out. When the light faded, so did their loyalty. When the applause stopped, their footsteps followed. And I learned something cruel. It's not hatred that breaks a man, it's absence. The faces that once smiled now pass like shadows, eyes avoiding, hearts already elsewhere. You don't realize you're alone until you reach for help and find only echoes. They'll tell you they care, but only as long as your world still shines bright enough to warm them. The moment it turns cold, they scatter, because no one wants to stand near the ashes of a fallen man. That's when loneliness stops being a feeling and becomes a battlefield, not against others, against yourself. You wake up every morning to the sound of your own doubt. You look in the mirror and see a stranger, a reflection cracked by too many promises broken. And the worst part, you start to believe them. You start to believe maybe you weren't worth staying for. But pain is honest. It never lies. And that's why it's the first true teacher. They loved my crown, never my scars. They loved the image of victory, not the cost behind it. They wanted the glow, not the burn. They wanted to stand beside a king, but not the man crawling through mud to become one. People say they support you, but support has conditions. They'll clap for you when you rise, but they'll never reach out when you're bleeding on the floor. I've seen it, their smiles when I stumbled, the quiet satisfaction in their silence, the way they watched my pain like it was some grand performance. They call it concern, but it's entertainment. Because in a world that worships image, your suffering becomes their story to tell. They love to say, "He changed," but they never mention who broke him first. Every friend who turned away was a mirror shattering. Every goodbye was another piece of the illusion dying. And in those broken reflections, I saw what was real. The fire in the hearth went out one night. The letters stopped coming. The footsteps faded down the hall, leaving only the sound of wind and my heartbeat. I sat in that silence, and I finally understood. This was never abandonment. It was revelation. Because the truth is, people will only stand beside you as long as you make them feel safe, comfortable, entertained. But when your storms come, they will choose the sun every time. So I stopped expecting loyalty from those built of smoke. I stopped begging for warmth from those who only knew how to take it. The hypocrisy of support runs deep. They say they believe in you until belief costs effort. They say, "I'll be there," until being there means facing silence, pain, or failure. But you know what's worse? They'll still watch every move, every wound, every fall. They won't offer a hand, but they'll watch, hoping you don't rise higher than them. They'll gossip like vultures circling a dying lion, forgetting one thing: even dying lions have claws. And through it all, pain became the only thing that never lied to me. It didn't flatter, it didn't pretend, it didn't leave. Pain told me, they'll vanish when the fire dims, so become the fire itself. It taught me that loneliness isn't an enemy, it's a weapon, the kind forged from betrayal's ashes. Because once you've walked through that storm alone, no man, no rejection, no silence can ever break you again. So let them turn away, let them whisper, vanish, pretend they never knew me. Every absence they left behind became another stone in my fortress. Every lie became another spark in my flame. They thought they were leaving me behind, but in truth, they were clearing the room for my rebirth. Their absence was the hammer. My pain was the forge. Silence. Most fear it. I learned to kneel before it, because silence isn't emptiness. It's a voice that speaks without words, and only warriors can hear it. At first it's unbearable. You crave noise, any sound, any distraction, because silence exposes what you've buried. It drags your ghosts into the light, forces you to face the truth you've been avoiding. But then, something changes. You stop running. You start listening. And that's when silence speaks back. It whispers, "No one is coming." And that sentence, that brutal truth, is the start of freedom. Because the moment you accept that, you stop waiting for saviors. You stop begging for loyalty from hollow hearts. You stop expecting the world to understand your war. You realize you were always meant to fight it alone. There's a stillness that lives inside solitude, a sacred kind of calm, like moonlight spilling through a cracked window, falling on stone floors cold enough to remember centuries. The air is heavy, your breath fogs in the chill, and in that quiet, you meet him. The version of yourself that never needed anyone. He doesn't smile. He doesn't weep. He just looks back at you, unimpressed by your excuses, unmoved by your pity. He's the man you were meant to be, and he was waiting here all along, buried under the noise of everyone else's opinions. That's what silence does. It strips the world away until all that's left is the raw truth. You. In the noise, you were blind. In silence, you see. Every lie falls quiet. Every fake friend disappears. Every illusion of support burns out like a dying wick. And in the faint glow of what remains, you see your reflection clearly. Tired, scarred, but still alive. You realize that survival was never about being saved. It was about staying, through the ache, through the betrayal, through the nights no one clapped for you. You stayed, and that alone is victory. Silence is a sculptor. It doesn't comfort, it carves. Each moment alone is another strike of the chisel. It shapes you into something harder than pain, sharper than fear. You start to see patterns in your own chaos. Discipline begins to rise where dependency once lived. You stop begging for loyalty. You start building routine. You stop chasing validation. You start sharpening will. The world taught you to speak loudly, Silence taught you to move quietly, like a storm forming over the sea, powerful, unseen, inevitable. One night I sat in that same stone room. The black crown lay untouched beside the dying flame. The wax had burned low, the wick trembling in its final breath. I watched it flicker, and I understood. The flame wasn't dying, it was transforming. The silence wasn't punishment, it was initiation. Because every true king learns. Before you command others, you must first master the kingdom within. And that kingdom is ruled in silence. When the noise fades, truth begins to echo. It says, "It's only you." And at first that truth crushes you. Then it frees you. Because if it's only you, then it's all on you. And that means no one can stop you. That's the paradox of solitude. It isolates you to awaken you. It breaks your dependence so you can build your dominion. It destroys what was weak, so what's left is unbreakable. The silence that once mocked you now protects you. You learn to draw strength from it. You begin to see it not as emptiness, but as clarity. The same silence that once suffocated you now breathes power into your lungs. Because when you walk through enough quiet nights alone, you start hearing something deeper than words. Your purpose. And it doesn't shout. It hums like fire beneath the skin, like destiny stirring from sleep. From that night on, I never feared silence again. I wore it like armor. I carried it like a crown. Because silence is where the gods whisper, and the broken become immortal. The silence they left me in became the voice that raised my crown. Solitude is not soft. It's not poetic or peaceful. It's the gym for the soul, where repetition becomes religion and pain becomes scripture. Every lonely night is a hammer strike. Every doubt that crawls through your head is another test of steel. You break, you rebuild, you burn, again and again and again. Because that's how you forge something unshakable. Not in applause, not in comfort, but in the silence where no one claps, and the only sound you hear is your own breath over the smoke. There's a rhythm to pain when you stop running from it. It stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like purpose. Each repetition, each failure, each scar, you realize none of it was meant to destroy you. It was meant to temper you. Every man wants strength, but few understand what it costs. You don't get strong, you suffer into it. You lose everything weak in you, piece by piece, memory by memory, until what's left is carved in fire and silence. You learn that evolution doesn't scream, it grinds. It bleeds quietly in the corners no one watches. And that's where the real rebirth happens. When you stop fighting the solitude, you start mastering it. When you stop seeking validation, you start seeing transformation. The world told you to heal, but healing was never about peace. It was about becoming the weapon that would never break again. I remember the moment I felt it, that shift. The night I stopped asking why me and started whispering, try me. That's the mark of reforging, the point where the victim dies and the warrior begins to breathe. You wake up different. The pain doesn't control you anymore. You command it. You walk through your memories like a blacksmith through his forge, turning old heartbreak into fire, betrayal into muscle, and loss into the rhythm of your hammer. Because solitude is where kings are built. Every lonely night becomes a repetition, not of weakness, but of will. You stop counting who left. You start counting how many times you refused to quit. You stop cursing the silence. You start building inside it. That's how the soul grows, not by addition, but by subtraction. Not by gaining more, but by losing everything that was false. You fight not for approval anymore, but for evolution. You stop fighting to prove. You start fighting to become. The weakness of yesterday melted down. The doubts that mocked you smelted into steel. The tears that burned your face quenched the fire that shapes your armor. You learn to look at your scars and see maps instead of wounds. Every cut becomes a direction. Every failure becomes instruction. That's the alchemy of solitude. It turns every ending into a beginning. The forge doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't care about your excuses or your pain. It only asks one question. How much fire can you take before you become it? And if you stay long enough, you start to realize something frightening. You're no longer the same man, the one who begged for comfort, gone. The one who sought approval, burned away. What's left is something quiet, cold, focused, a creature of purpose, not pride, a weapon of will. Isolation becomes your weapon. Because once you've mastered peace in darkness, you become dangerous in the light. You walk differently, speak differently. People feel it before they understand it. That aura, it's not arrogance, it's awareness. The kind that comes only from walking through your own hell and realizing you didn't die there. When others need chaos to feel alive, you move in silence and make chaos follow you. Because your peace is not weakness, it's dominance under control. You start treating your mind like a blade, sharpened in routine, tempered in discipline. You rise at dawn, not because anyone is watching, but because your soul demands consistency. Each breath becomes deliberate. Each move becomes sacred. You no longer need motivation. You are motivation. The rage you once wasted on betrayal is now refined into fuel. The pain you once hated is now the heat that keeps your fire alive. You understand now. The crown isn't given, it's earned. One rep, one scar, one silent night at a time. You are both the blacksmith and the blade. You swing the hammer, you take the blow, and you rise sharper than before. You don't seek revenge, you become revenge, by thriving where they hoped you'd break, by walking through the ruins of your old self and smiling, because you know the man standing here is carved from the very pain they caused. That's the power of the forge. It doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you inevitable. You stop reacting. You start creating. You stop chasing crowns. You build them. And when people see you rise, they'll call it luck. They'll call it fate. But you'll know the truth. It was forged in every unseen night, every silent breath, every ounce of pain you refuse to waste. The fire no longer burns you. It obeys you. It bends to your will. You've become the flame you once feared. That's what solitude was for, to turn the wounded into the weapon and the broken into the builder. You stand now not as who you were, but as what you've become. A man reforged, a king born not of mercy, but of endurance. They left me in the fire. They didn't know I was the blacksmith. Every man who stood alone was once mocked. Every storm-born soul was once called insane. They laughed when I went silent. They called it defeat. They called it weakness. But what they never understood is that silence is not surrender. It's strategy, because while they were busy talking, I was building. While they were mocking, I was molding. And while they celebrated my downfall, I was learning how to rise without applause. They thought I disappeared, but kings don't disappear. They withdraw. They vanish into the shadows, not to hide, but to sharpen. Every night I spent in solitude was a seed buried in the dark. Every scar became a brick in the walls of my empire. Every betrayal was fuel for the fire that now roars behind my eyes. You see, the throne doesn't appear. It's carved, with bleeding hands, with sleepless nights, with a soul that refuses to die quietly. The world never gives you your crown. You take it from the ruins they left you in. You pull it out of the ashes they buried you under. You rise, covered in soot, in silence, in fire, and you build what they swore you'd never touch. That's the truth of kingship. You're not handed power. You earn it through exile. You build it through suffering. You guard it through pain. And when you finally rise, the same mouths that mocked you will choke on your name. Every man who rises from the shadows carries a storm inside him, a storm that no one sees until it hits. And when it does, it changes everything. Because solitude doesn't just build strength, it builds vision, it builds focus. It builds the kind of silence that commands attention without needing words. You stop explaining your worth. You stop begging to be understood. You stop chasing validation, because your results become your vengeance. They used to say, "He's different now." You're damn right I am. The version of me they betrayed is gone. The version of me that begged is buried. The man who stands now is forged of loss, tempered in rage, and crowned in his own blood. I don't explain anymore. I don't prove anymore. I move silently, efficiently, ruthlessly, and the world adjusts to my presence. The wolves that left me in the cold, they'll come crawling back when the fire returns, and they'll swear they always believed. They'll rewrite history to hide their fear. But I'll remember, because kings don't forget. We forgive, but we never forget. They left me in the blizzard thinking I'd freeze. They didn't realize I became the storm. Now I walk through the same halls they banished me from, but I walk differently, heavier, wiser, quieter. The man they mocked is gone. In his place stands something they can't define, because I don't carry pain anymore. I wield it. Pain was the sword they handed me, and I learned how to use it. I didn't find peace. I forged it. I didn't find strength. I built it. And I didn't find purpose. I became it. There's a fire that lives behind the eyes of men who were broken and rebuilt. A fire that doesn't flicker. It consumes. It doesn't rage without reason. It burns with precision. That's what the shadows taught me. Control, discipline, dominion. The shadows don't just hide you, they prepare you. They harden you until the light can't blind you anymore. So when I step from the fire, I don't flinch, I don't bow, I don't hesitate, I rise. And as I rise, I carry every scar like scripture, every betrayal like armor, every lesson like a crown. Because kings are not made in courts, they're made in caves, in exile, in heartbreak, in the silence where no one believed they'd return. But I did, because I never needed belief, I needed becoming. Now I stand where I once fell. Same ground, same sky, different man. And I don't roar for attention, I roar for legacy. Because legacy is not what you leave behind. It's what refuses to die even after they bury you. My rise was never about revenge. It was about remembrance of who I was before they broke me, and who I became because they did. Look closely at this crown. It's not gold, it's scarred. It's blackened by fire, polished by blood, and heavy with the weight of every night I refused to quit. I didn't inherit this, I forged it. Every flame they lit to burn me became the fire that shaped it. This is what solitude builds, not a man who survives, but a king who conquers. And so I rise from the shadows, not to prove, not to plead, but to reign. I don't chase thrones anymore. I build them from bone and silence. And when the world asks how I did it, I'll simply say, I learned to rule myself first. Because that's the truth no one speaks. Before you lead armies, you must conquer the battlefield within. Before you wear a crown, you must bear the weight of solitude. Before you command respect, you must become something that cannot be ignored. That's what the shadows taught me. That's what betrayal gave me. That's what pain built inside me. So let them call it arrogance. Let them call it pride. They'll never understand. It's not pride, it's prophecy. Because when you've risen from the grave of who you used to be, you don't live anymore. You reign. I didn't rise to be seen. I rose so no darkness could ever hide me again. Solitude didn't break me. It crowned me. They said I'd lose myself in the silence. They were right, but they didn't know. Losing yourself is how you find the version that was buried beneath their noise. I walked through the fire. I slept beside betrayal. I dined with ghosts. And when the world turned its back, I turned inward. And there, in the quiet, I met the king I was always meant to become. I used to think solitude was punishment, that being alone meant being forgotten. But solitude was never isolation. It was initiation. The silence wasn't there to torture me. It was there to teach me, to strip me of everything false, every illusion of love, every fragile comfort, every hollow word that used to keep me blind. Because truth doesn't speak in crowds, it whispers in the dark. And I listened. That's when I understood. You're not being punished when the world leaves you. You're being prepared. Every night of stillness was a weapon being sharpened. Every moment of doubt was the tempering of iron. Every tear, every breath, every silent scream was the molding of a crown you'd die one day wear with calm defiance. They thought solitude would break me. They didn't realize it was building me, brick by brick, scar by scar, until I stood tall enough to see what they never could. The king doesn't return with noise. He returns with presence. No announcements, no validation, just the quiet certainty of a man who no longer needs to prove his worth. Because true power doesn't shout, it radiates. It's in the way you walk, unhurried, unbothered. It's in the way you look, not through people, but beyond them. It's in the way you speak, every word deliberate, heavy, final. That's the authority born from solitude, not loud but absolute. Once they used to talk about me. Now they fall silent when I enter the room. That's what power is. When your silence becomes louder than their words. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. You don't have to explain your purpose. Your existence is the explanation. Your calmness is the crown. When you master silence, you master everything, because only the man who is unmoved by noise can truly move the world. The throne isn't made of gold. It's made of the nights you survived alone. It's built from the bones of the moments you almost gave up. It's forged from every why me that turned into watch me. And it stands upon a foundation of silence so deep, no scream can shake it. This throne doesn't glitter. It bleeds. It breathes. It remembers. Every victory it holds was paid for in sleepless nights and quiet endurance. And that's why it cannot be stolen, because no one else suffered enough to build it. The sun rises over ruins now, over the ashes of everything that once tried to bury me. The air still smells of smoke. The stones still whisper of war. But I stand, not as a survivor, not as a victim, but as a ruler forged in his own solitude. The blood on my crown is not shame. It's history. It's proof that I didn't inherit this throne. I earned it. And I will wear it not with pride, but with purpose. Because the silence that built it was never meant to make me comfortable. It was meant to make me ready. Now, I understand what all the pain was for, why the betrayals happened, why the loneliness lingered, why the silence stayed long after the noise was gone. It was all construction. Every crack in my soul was an entrance for strength. Every scar was a mark of progress. Every shadow was a teacher. And now, when I kneel, it's not in defeat. It's in reverence, because I know who I am. And more importantly, I know who I am not. They will see me rise, and they'll say it came from nowhere. But I know the truth. I came from silence, from the cold floors where hope was a whisper, from the darkness where faith was my only friend. I built this throne when no one was watching. I crowned myself when no one believed. And now, the world will watch what silence created. When they speak of me, let them speak softly, not because I demand fear, but because I carry stillness that deserves respect. The kind of stillness that follows storms. The kind of peace that comes after destruction. The kind of silence that doesn't beg to be heard, but commands it. Because I am not the man they left behind. I am the king silence raised. The world tried to bury me in silence, but that's where I built my throne.